Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Um, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Maritza. I am one of the Los Angeles chapter directors for Techqueria. If this is your first event with Techqueria, we are a nonprofit organization for the Latinx community working in tech. And we provide resources, events, and mentorship for the Latinx community in tech. And if you haven't already, I would invite you to join our Slack channel. That is where we do the majority of our communication. Yeah, and I would also like to take this time to thank both Lindsay and Ryan for doing this event with us. They are from Flatiron School, which is a boot camp. So Lindsay, did you want to take it from here?
Sure, I'll introduce Flatiron School really quickly. Thank you, Maritza, for having us and for connecting us with the Techqueria audience. We're really excited to be here tonight. Can everyone hear me okay? We're good?
Yep.
Awesome, cool. Well, I'll hand it over to Ryan. He's one of our career coaches at Flatiron School, which, if you're unfamiliar with Flatiron School, we teach software engineering, data science, UX, UI design, and cybersecurity courses to learners that are looking to change their career. And one of our greatest aspects of our program is our wonderful career coaches, of which Ryan is one. So I'll hand it off to him to kind of take us through the workshop tonight, talk us through resume tips and LinkedIn best practices for those of you who are interested. Before we get started though, I do want to say if anyone is willing to volunteer their LinkedIn to be reviewed tonight, go ahead and pop the link in the chat box, and Ryan is excited to hopefully do that for one of you all. So with that, I'll hand it over to him, and feel free to pop in any questions while we're presenting, and we can answer them at the end.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks to the Techqueria team for having us as well. This is really exciting. Flatiron School is a really cool place for me to work. And part of why it's a really cool place for me to work is because all of the students are really interesting, cool people who are doing something really cool with their lives, creating a career change or getting into something they're really passionate about. Nobody goes to a coding boot camp on accident. It's a really cool thing. And being, what helps is that we're Course Report's #1 boot camp. So also my job is great because I get to career coach the students who are coming out of a boot camp that has a great reputation. So it's a pleasure to be here. Happy to be supporting you all this evening. And I know we're probably all doing this from home, so I acknowledge all of you for making the effort, even though it's probably easier to curl up on the couch right now. My dog and my cat would really like for me to be doing that right now, I can tell you. So I'm going to go ahead and start with a slide deck, but I promise you, I'm not one of those people who gives a boring slide deck presentation, so I'm going to try my best to make this interesting. Feel free to pop questions into the chat along the way, and as Lindsay said, if you have, if there's time, I would love to give some feedback on a LinkedIn or two, so please pop your links in there and we'll do what we can. And I'm just going to share my screen. Can you guys see it? I can see, Lindsay, can you give me a thumbs up if you can? Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, great. Okay, so this is a presentation that we originally developed for students internally, and I know some of you are Flatiron folks and some of you are not. But hopefully this will all be useful information for you. So the first question that I think is appropriate for this conversation is why you should have a LinkedIn. And rather than taking it from me, it's good to take it from a reputable source. So according to U.S. News and World Report, the LinkedIn is the single most important social networking tool for your career, and that's just practically true these days. Your LinkedIn profile portrays your personal brand. It allows you to establish and leverage connections for job opportunities. But this is the thing that really gets me. it's used by 90% of hiring managers and recruiters. And what people don't tend to realize is that up to 70% of jobs are filled without a public job listing ever going out, which means that they're filled internally, or they're filled through referrals from people internally, or recruiters are going out and proactively finding people, or maybe that company has a hiring bonus and somebody wants to make some extra cash, so they go looking on LinkedIn for people to refer in for their jobs. So having a publicly visible, fully complete LinkedIn just out there with your name on it is a really, really beneficial tool, even if you're not actively job searching, because you never know when an opportunity can arise. I know many people who have gotten jobs they weren't even looking for, that were beyond their wildest hopes and dreams, because their LinkedIn was in excellence and just publicly available. This is just speaking to that. Actually, Susie Welch, who is somebody that I think is a really great thought leader in the space of getting a job. If you maximize your LinkedIn profile, you may not be looking for your next job. It could come find you. So, you know, don't take it from me. There are people who they let on CNBC who actually say these things. But the truth is, just a little bit of work on your LinkedIn can go a long way. So I'm going to take you through a few of the nuts and bolts of what makes a good LinkedIn. And so before I go into it, I'm going to say a few things. First of all, there are no hard and fast rules. There are exceptions to every rule. You know, there are hundreds of millions of employees in the United States alone. So, you know, among all of those people, literally everything has worked once. But these are some guidelines, and know that each job seeker is different. Each job opportunity is different. So you might tweak these things as you go along based on your needs or what you're looking for. But these are some really good guidelines. First and foremost, your headshot should be professional in nature and be of you looking straight into the camera and not be a selfie. But that doesn't mean it has to be an Olin Mills portrait or something like that. Doesn't mean that you have to necessarily hire a photographer to get a good headshot for you. There are, and I'll give you some examples here in a minute, there are people who have great headshots on their LinkedIn, but it's from a hike where they happen to be wearing a really nice jacket, so it looked semi-professional, or from a wedding where they were in the wedding party. Those kinds of things can happen. Candid photos can be great as long as they're high quality and they're you looking directly in the camera, and they are an appropriate representation of you as a person, as well as the kinds of jobs you're looking for. So a stuffy headshot that was obviously shot in a portrait studio where you're wearing a full suit and tie might not be the best headshot for your LinkedIn if you're looking for a job at a company where they typically wear jeans and t-shirts. Now, I'm not saying that you should wear a jeans and a t-shirt in your headshot because you want to get a job at, say, Facebook, but it's possible to be overly professional, too buttoned up in a headshot if that doesn't quite jive with the kind of job you're looking for. Similarly, what you wear in your headshot should be representative more or less of your fashion sense, your style, your personality. You shouldn't go buy a brand new outfit that is nothing like anything you would ever wear just for your headshot for your LinkedIn. There's also, and a lot of people don't realize this, but the blue banner image that's at the top of your LinkedIn is changeable. And so I encourage you to change it. And it can literally be to anything. But a great thing to do is to put a picture that you took, say, on a hike or out and about in the world, something that's meaningful to you in some way. I've had a student, there's a building that was down the street from his house, so he literally just went and took a picture of it because he thought it was cool and used that as the banner image on his LinkedIn. I had a student who had a background in medicine, and so she found a really cool graphic that had medical symbols and stuff like that in it that looked cool, so she used that. The sky's kind of the limit. I just was working with a student the other day who used an image that he took at the beach, but he was able to Photoshop it in a way that it looked like an authentic vintage photo from like the 1920s. And he used that, and it's actually a really cool image, and it's a cool story. So it reflects his interests, it reflects something he's good at, and is a conversation piece. I have another student, actually, I'll stop giving examples after this one, who has his headshot, but his banner image is of him catching a really cool wave surfing. So it's a little bit of his personality and outside interests infused. And the cool thing about infusing your outside interests and personality is that it makes you more memorable. It makes you a 3D person. And imagine if a recruiter is vetting hundreds of people, you want to stick out, and you're not going to just stick out because of your expertise. You're going to stick out because of your whole personality. Skipping ahead a little bit. The introduction section on your resume should be really succinct. This is a thing that that I almost always edit with my students. You can easily give too much information in the headline. Also, if you are currently a student, take the word student out if you're about to graduate and you're ready to job search, because you sooner or later won't be a student. But people don't tend to hire students. They tend to hire people who have finished studenting. So you can go ahead and take student out. And again, I'll just give you some examples. And similarly, you know what, in terms of the job company, and it's easier if I just show you. So I'll just show you, but I'm also going to put a pin in. I'll show you also how to change your URL for your LinkedIn, which is really cool and really easy to do and makes it much easier to use your LinkedIn. So here we go. Examples. So you have 6 to 10 seconds to capture someone's attention. So if you just take the first couple of seconds that you've looked at this slide, which one jumps off the page at you? There's the customized banner. There's the appropriate headshot versus what is obviously a low fidelity candid photo and no banner image. But I also want to show you, Jolie is actually a senior career coach at Flatiron now. She got promoted since the screen grab was taken. She's now a senior career coach. She's on the outer limits of within the range of acceptability in terms of how much text to put in your title. So she's got her name and her title and company. It's because of her unique situation where she is already in the job she wants to keep, and she wants to make sure everybody else knows what Flatiron School is. She's taken up 2 lines. But for you, most likely, it should just say software engineer or web designer or something succinct like that. And then always, of course, and this actually comes up a lot, make sure that the location displayed is accurate. A lot of people have moved recently in order to get into to go to school or whatever. Make sure that your LinkedIn accurately reflects your location. But so the bullet points do say a lot give you the basics that I really want you to make sure you think about when you're taking a step back and looking at your LinkedIn. Color and interesting backgrounds, inviting photos, which means ask yourself before you use a banner image, is this going to be an interesting photo that's going to invite someone in? Or is it going to be one that might be a little taxing for someone to look at? Because that's a challenge too. If it's super busy, that might not be very enticing to watch. I'm just going to pause for a second, look and see if anybody's asked any questions. Well, this thing isn't letting me look at my questions, so I'll look at those again in a secing.
I think people are posting questions in the chat.
Yeah, well. and for some reason I'm having trouble. There it is. Great. Ta-da, thank you. Were you going to share your screen at all or be on? Oh, that's earlier, I see. Does the text adapt to mobile well? You know, yes. I would actually invite you to always look at any changes you make on your LinkedIn on your mobile device after you've made them. But generally, yes, text on your LinkedIn does adapt to mobile well. It does wrap as opposed to becoming too small to read. LinkedIn has done a pretty decent job of developing their mobile app. But I will say this, LinkedIn changes things often and sometimes without notice. So check periodically to see if anything has changed about the way your profile displays or if there are new options you can use. And actually, every once in a while, if you happen to have a friend sitting next to you who might have the LinkedIn app on their phone, look at your profile on their phone, especially if it's a different device from the one you use. So I hope that answers your question, Pablo. Thank you for that. And Carolina, thank you for your comment. I'm glad you're here. Oops. So here are some examples of some other examples that I think are really good. These are, generally speaking, as I said, you want the headline under your name to be 1 line, if at all possible, unless you have a really good reason for it not to be. And even then, it should be really, really well used. So if you're going to use 2 lines, I recommend working with your career coach to make sure that it's a well-used 2 lines. Otherwise, Jacob's here, full stack developer at his company, or Andrew's web developer / software engineer. Those are really good. All 4 of these are really good. I would also just take a look at, as I said, an image, the banner image can literally be anything. So I would prefer that Jacob not use an image that is of the view he's got every day in front of his computer. And similarly with Andrew, however, they are interesting images. They are not unappealing to look at. They both have some color in them. They both have a diversity of shapes. So those 2 images can work. But I also really like the bottom 2, both in terms of shape and color, but also there's a bit of a story there. I want to know why Allison used those mountains, and I want to know why Carrie used what looks like the rotunda at a state capitol or something, or maybe it's the inside of a building in Rome. I don't know. Maybe it is, and so I would want to ask. Similarly, I also want to point out to you, since we're looking at these, 3 of these are traditional headshots, but Allison's is not. But notice, it's not a selfie. It's just a really good photo of her, and it's appropriate for the business setting, but it also reflects her personality. So that's a great example of a photo that isn't necessarily a traditional headshot, but can work and work well. So here is how you change your background. Generally speaking, when you're editing your profile, look for this pencil. But this pencil on the right-hand side of your screen, right under the image, is where, unless it's changed, again, LinkedIn changes things all the time without notice. But last I checked, you click on that pencil and it will allow you to, and then the pencil button will appear inside that image, and you click on that and change the image. To be clear, Jolie's background is a graphic that had the text laid on it. That's not a thing that you can do inside LinkedIn, but you can make a graphic or have a graphic made that has text in it if you want. To edit your profile URL, and this is something that I really want you to pay attention to. Similarly, you click that pencil, and you click again on the pencil icon in contact info, and then you edit in that section your URL. It should be, once you do those 2 clicks, it should be easy to find. Usually your name is first name dash last name dash a string of numbers. Take that string of numbers off. And if you need to add a number or find a creative way because you have a common name, that's okay. Just, I want you to avoid keeping that string of numbers. Alicia has a question. Why would I post software engineer my profile on LinkedIn job seeker when I don't have any job experience? Great question. Well, if you don't have any training or job experience yet as a software engineer, you wouldn't. So this is at the point where you're ready to find that job. So we're talking about the snapshot in time where you have training or experience, or both, preferably, and you're ready to find that job. And that, so let me put it to you another way. The headline on your LinkedIn should reflect what you are aspiring to. Either it's, you're already in your field, you want another new job in your same field, so you leave that title, or you're changing professions and that's what you're aspiring to. Having said that, if you're looking for, you shouldn't be looking for a software engineering job unless you at least have training like graduating from a boot camp or something, because you're not going to get that. So the next step for you perhaps would be to check out Flatiron School. I hope that answers your question. And if not, feel free to clarify in the comments. And thank you for the question. Let's talk about your About section. It's easy to misuse that section, but it's also relatively easy to use it well. And the first thing I want to point out to you is the first few lines are all that's visible unless someone clicks to read more. So you really want to capture the essence of what you want to say in the beginning. But you don't only necessarily want to talk about your professional experience. So think about what are the things, as I mentioned before, that make you unique as a candidate. Do you have an uncommon culture or upbringing? Do you have language skills that are